Be there. We're there now, and we're back.
What's up?
What
Unhappy
is up?
Monday based off of what happened yesterday.
An unhappy Monday based on what happened yesterday on a few levels. We look at what happened with the Philadelphia Eagles getting blown out in
Well, I was happy
Philadelphia.
about that.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy about it, but I'm sure people wanted a closer game. I mean,
Mm,
God,
Not
man.
really. I picked the 49ers. People like
Oh,
being right. I'm no different.
oh
So
yeah,
I
hell,
got the 49ers all the way to the Super Bowl.
I picked the 49ers. I want them to go to the Super Bowl as well. I picked them to go to the Super Bowl, but I thought there would be a little bit of a tussle. We were talking about this as being the juggernaut matchup it was supposed to be, and the advantage would have been for Philadelphia being at home, but I still thought
I
that
I
San
liked it
Francisco had
from the
something.
I liked it and found it very entertaining from the standpoint of the 49ers did what they wanted to do, and the Eagles couldn't do jack shit about it.
Clown them.
They kept running to the left, 4 yards here, 7 yards here, play action, first down, run to the left again, third and short, run it to the left. They couldn't stop from running to the left side. I was like, this is fucking crazy.
Yep, but before we can get to that, because we'll talk about some NFL football, we got to talk about the elephant in the room. And that elephant shouldn't even be in the room. The Alabama Crimson Tide, that elephant should not be in the room. Let's not try to act like we're trying to get to the point. Let's give them the point. Alabama should not be in the national championship. It's an absolute travesty that Florida State was left out of the CFP playoffs in order to so Alabama could come in. You have two one-loss teams. I can agree with one. That's Texas because they did beat Alabama head-to-head early in the season, double digits in Tuscaloosa, and they are conference champs. This is what came about from back in 2001. We've already talked about it when they said, well, Colorado was a conference champ, but Nebraska deserved it. Miami ended up playing them. But because of that was the reason why the BCS came along. And then now the CFP has come along because they talked about we're no longer going to have these non-conference champs going into playoff games or having real opportunities at a national championship. Last year, Texas TCU was not a conference champion. They lost to Kansas State. We saw what happened, 65-7.
But they did beat Michigan to get to the championship game. So it's not like it was a total farce.
No, it
So
wasn't a total farce.
Stephen A can kiss my ass with that bullshit. Bring it up. We don't want another TCU. Florida State is not TCU. They
Florida,
and TCU made it to the championship. Florida State was undefeated. It's a stupid ass comparison.
it's an absolute mess. And I knew something like this was going to happen because of shenanigans. I remember Kirby Smart not too long after his loss still claiming he deserved to have been there. Well, if you're going by the letter of the law and the things that have happened all season long, you would see Kirby Smart was the number one team who lost to the number 8 team. Regardless of what the circumstances were going into the SEC championship game, Alabama was still the number 18 in the country. Georgia was number one. You lost to the number 8. That gets you out of there any damn way. It isn't
There's
one
a
of these.
there's a lot of things wrong with what happened. Um, I'm not gonna advocate for Ohio State, but at least Ohio State can say their only loss was to the number one team in the nation.
You know
You're
what?
saying Georgia lost to number 8, Alabama lost to number 3. Okay, Ohio State lost to number 1, but
See,
Ohio State was on the road.
yep. Ohio State was on the road, but the one thing I can
Alabama
say,
was at home at full strength because that's another thing people are saying. Well, they don't have their quarterback. We don't want another TCU. We don't want this. We don't want that. At full strength, Alabama needed a stupid ass Auburn breakdown to win that game, or they have 2 losses
2 losses going into the
at full
SEC
strength.
championship game. They already were going into the SEC championship game. They were a miracle play away against Auburn, a team like Auburn, who's pretty middle of the pack in the SEC this year, which, in my opinion, and I've been saying it all year long, is not the SEC of the past, the SEC of last season, or even the past previous seasons when they were the dominant conference. I can repeatedly said the top 3 teams in the SEC early in the year, it was Alabama, Georgia, and LSU. Later on in the year, when you saw the strength of these teams, it was Alabama, it was Georgia, and it was Missouri. Those are the 3 best teams in the SEC. I didn't think they could beat the 3 best teams in the Big Ten, which were Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. I don't believe that now. But anyways, the way it went down, was Alabama got in because they're Alabama and Nick Saban can be that influential in college football. Secondly, Texas is the richest school in college football outside of the Ivy League, of course, with Harvard. The money, follow the money. You know what I mean? And what is the purpose of even playing if you're going undefeated, you're a conference champ, and you're not getting the chance? Don't tell me about we want a better matchup because these quarterbacks are hurt or they're down to their third string quarterback. So what was the purpose of playing the rest of the season? They showed the resiliency. That's part of the story.
They should have just dropped them out of the top 10 right then and there. Like, you don't have your quarterback, you're out of the running. Too bad. If they did that, I would have more fucking respect for them.
And this is football. You're going to have injuries throughout the entire season. College and pro at any other level, players are going to get injured. But the storyline of losing all of these quarterbacks, still going undefeated, winning in the ACC championship game, that means something. You had a true freshman making a huge play against Louisville to make it happen. This could have been part of the storyline going into the college football playoffs if Florida State was going to be there. Alabama and Georgia should not be there. Why? You know, you get the social media if you want to hear a bunch of idiots just say shit in a circle jerk and think they're correct. Well, in this case here, well, the SEC still the best conference. No one outside of the SEC can beat even a middle of the pack SEC team, which is BS this season because this is the season we have to worry about. Don't you forget how Auburn, who pushed Alabama to the brink and almost prevented Alabama from having 2 losses. I mean, well, they prevented them, almost prevented them. But nevertheless, we're talking about the same Auburn team the previous week lost to New Mexico freaking State in Auburn. Come on, man. It wasn't even hard.
The SEC head up against the ACC was 4-6. So how can you tell me the conference was better overall? Maybe they have Georgia and Alabama better than Florida State and Louisville, but top to bottom, no way.
No, it just, look, in the beginning of the season, the ACC was ahead 4-1. The SEC had to rally just to get that 6-4. Just to get that 6-4, they had to rally throughout the season to do it. So this storyline of always saying that the SEC is the best conference, see, any other time in the bowl season, they always say the SEC is the best conference, and they always look at the records against other teams. See, the SEC is the best. And a lot of times you can agree. This time, the same strategy, the same method, 6-4 in the ACC's favor. But now it doesn't mean that the ACC is better than the SEC. Why do the rules change? Because of Nick Saban's influence, because of the SEC's influence. Texas is going to get there. They'll be part of the SEC next year along with Oklahoma. But this whole thing is a freaking mess.
This whole playoff is going to have an asterisk. What if Michigan blasts Alabama next week and then they find out they cheated all year long?
Well, you know what? There's still, I forgot all about that.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I forgot all about that.
Maybe they haven't cheated the last few weeks since the scandal broke. Maybe they won't cheat against Alabama, but maybe they have 8 wins while cheating.
Well,
and then they have those wins vacated. If they win it all, there's no champion this year.
Yeah,
and you left Florida State out to boot.
Vacate the championship like they did Reggie Bush's Heisman. Yeah, but and Alabama fans, at least most of them, some of them are reasonable, most of them aren't, especially with the entitlement of going to championship games now, even though they don't deserve it. They're going to bring up the cheating scandal if they lose this game. That's guaranteed. They're talking now, we can beat them, we can beat them, we can beat them. But if they lose to Michigan, especially if it's a blowout, they're going to blame some cheating scandal. Yeah, they didn't cheat. I'm sure they cheated because that's just how they are.
I'm just glad Washington won, or all hell really would have broken loose.
Man, look, Washington made a fool of me.
Me too. I thought Oregon would win.
But you know what? You had a better argument than me last week because I was still saying, man, Oregon.
You were jumping the gun.
Even though they already had the head-to-head matchup.
You were jumping the gun as if they had already won. I'm like, whoa, let's wait and see.
Luckily for me, I didn't write the Old or New Testament. So
you wrote it with paper and pencil, so you can erase it.
Yeah, exactly, man. But this whole thing is just screwed up, man. I feel so bad for Florida State. I'm not supposed to feel bad about Florida State and what happened to them. I remember the same thing happened in Miami way back when Florida State got the opportunity to play Oklahoma instead of Miami when Miami won the head-to-head matchup back then, the year before the national championship. But man, this is supposed to be the time where everything is fair, because you tried to do all of these things in the past several years, now decades, to not have an outcome like this. You wanted conference champions to go in. It'll be better if they're even undefeated. Now you have undefeated conference champions, but then one of them is not even in the mix because another one, a team like Alabama, who has one loss, lost against Texas at home, double digits, played better throughout the season, but then Florida State, because they didn't play as well at the end of the season, still won without their quarterback down to their third string, and they're going to get punished for it.
When I mentioned to someone, why doesn't Ohio State have a legitimate gripe? They lost one game to the number one team, as I already mentioned. Someone's like, "Oh, they didn't win the championship." Well, Alabama didn't win all their games. Florida State did. I mean, what are we doing here? What are we talking about? You play to win the game. If you have an L and the other team has a 0, you are behind them. I don't care what the circumstances are.
And now the only reason why I could say now the Ohio State argument kind of loses a little bit of its luster is because of that same circumstance. They didn't get a chance to go to a championship game and prove even more that they deserve to be there. It's like other games removed. It's like one game removed when other teams had played. All of these champions have played, they battered each other, put them further ahead of Ohio State, who couldn't do any more after the Michigan game.
My point is, don't bring in parameters because it doesn't fit what you want, when the first parameter is wins and losses. Once you throw that out the window, then you throw everything out the damn window.
Yeah, it's a damn shame, man, how all of this just turned out. And we know that the favoritisms, and then they try to justify themselves by saying why they had done it. If Florida State ends up winning because they are now going to play Georgia in their game, well, I mean, a bit of a letdown for both teams. Georgia wanted to be in the national championship game, or at least in the playoffs. Florida State wanted to do the same, but they're kind of on a beat up end. And I can see how it could be more of a downer for Georgia than even from Florida State, because Florida State has something to prove, even with their third string quarterback, which may be the second string quarterback, Rademacher, coming back for the bowl game. But it's just a damn shame that we even got to this point. And you look at all of these great games that were played. I still think Michigan is the number one team in the country. I still had them as the number one team in the country from the very beginning of the season. Georgia failed because Carson Beck didn't really play the way he needed to play consistently enough for them to pull it off against Alabama. Alabama was pretty dominant in the early going. They kind of got it back together in Georgia in the second half, but obviously not enough. Alabama continues to kind of do the things they needed to do towards the end and won the game. Does this work against Michigan? We're obviously going to find that out.
We're going to find out if that D-line can hold up against Michigan's run game.
Yeah, because Michigan's run game and Michigan's offensive line altogether, I mean, that's one of the bigger reasons, other than the returning quarterback. That was one of the biggest reasons why I decided to talk about Michigan being a number one team this season, is because of their running a quarterback coming back, J.J. McCarthy. As you know, he was the only starting quarterback coming back out of the top 4 teams in the beginning of the season. That's changed quite a bit, obviously. Carson Beck took over for Stetson Bennett, who had won 2 national championships. We already know that. Ohio State, C.J. Stroud, we know what he's doing in the NFL, but they came in with Kyle McCord, the guy who hadn't started before. So he's
transferring.
And now he's transferring. And I see why, because Marvin Harrison Jr. is leaving, and not only that,
my guy's leaving. I'm out too.
But you know what? There's more than meets the eye. Ryan Day has told him, or was saying to the media, so that's pretty much telling him that, you know what, we're going to do what's best for the team when the bowl game comes around. He did not even commit to him for the bowl game. Devin Brown was getting opportunities this season in the early going, not towards the end, but I think Ryan Day has seen enough in practice to think that Devin Brown might be the guy to lead them in spring practice and ultimately next season. And Kyle McCord had saw this on the wall and decided, you know what, let me get the hell up out of here. He's leaving. I don't blame him either. He's just developing as a quarterback. He looks like he has a nice trajectory. And hell, the way the transfer portal has opened now, you have so many decent quarterbacks going in there now. So he's definitely going to be highly sought. For
Yeah.
Detroit, and he's still
I'm
young.
not sold on Ryan Day as a top head coach, by the way.
Well, you know what? I'm thinking more because of the Urban Meyer factor. He had Urban Meyer's players and had that success, but he's still doing a bit of the recruiting that Urban Meyer was doing. Probably not the consistent 5 and 4 star players, but Urban Meyer was getting those 5 and 4 star players. And if they were a 3 star player, he actually coached the guy up and probably went to the NFL anyway. So Ryan Day hasn't had the time to really prove that yet. But yeah, 3 losses in a row to Michigan will get that skepticism, not only in not in Ohio, but everywhere.
Yeah. But on a more positive note, I mentioned Washington. They handled Oregon pretty well Friday night.
Yeah, yeah.
Props to them. They earned their spot in there.
Absolutely.
I don't think Penix did enough to sway any voters, so I think Jaden Daniels
Jaden Daniels
could be taking the hardware home.
Yeah, I think so, and deservedly so. I thought this was going to be a highlight show for Bo Nix. I was rooting for him all season long. Former SEC guy in Auburn. I watched his father go undefeated with Auburn years ago, and then he went from Auburn to Oregon, and he lost against Georgia. Obviously, his first time at Oregon, got beaten pretty badly, but since then has become a much better quarterback, positioned himself much better for the NFL. But he couldn't get the job done when all eyes were on him in the Pac-12 championship game. Jaden Daniels' numbers alone is enough. We were talking last week in the last 5 games, 18 touchdowns, 1 interception for each guy. Well, now the differentiating factor is Jaden Daniels, even though he didn't win, he's on a 3-loss team. Those numbers just stand out even more now. They look even more gaudy right now. And Bo Nix just with the biggest game of the season on the line didn't stand up the way he should have.
Here's the thing. If he doesn't win, they're going to say because he had 3 losses. They play in the SEC. You want to hold the SEC up here because of Alabama and Georgia, and you want to say they're the best conference in the nation and blah, 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 blah. Well, how come that doesn't take hold for him? He played in the SEC.
Well, because they have regional voters. So even though the
I'm
SEC,
just saying, man.
The SEC thinks they're the end all be all, which most times they are. This season, in my opinion, they just aren't.
But you got the narrative on TV now. You cannot leave both Georgia and Alabama out. Why not?
Get out of here.
They both lost. Why not?
One team lost. The number 1 team lost to the number 8 team. They should be out of the top 4. Because
here's another thing. If Georgia didn't win the championship last year, would they have been number 1 this year? I don't know that they were the number 1 team. Didn't believe it all season long.
They still would have been in the top 5.
They struggled mightily early.
Yeah.
And so, yes, they did have a long-ass winning streak. Congratulations. But this year has nothing to do with last year and definitely nothing to do with 2 years ago.
I mean, they lost 25 top players from that team in the past 2 seasons.
Exactly. So it's not the same team. It's not the same team.
Not the same team.
So,
15 players back in 2020, 2022. They lost 10 more players in 2023. But when we talked about those 15 players for 2022, you're talking about all those first rounders just on defense alone. And we saw that their defense definitely wasn't living up to the expectations this season, and they couldn't be expected to live up to those expectations. You don't replace that kind of talent, especially in today's.
So dare I say Georgia's been overrated this year?
Yeah, I think so. They could have been, but you know what? In a good way, because they were still winning. They were doing their part. And even when against Alabama, they didn't get blown out. But really, how good is Alabama? Better than they were earlier this season. But how much further along are they really? Now that we know that Georgia probably wasn't as good, at least not number 1, certainly top 5, I think, talent-wise. Kirby Smart got a lot of great players. Kirby Smart is becoming or is already a great coach himself. So, yeah, but I look at what's going on now with the Michigan being number 1, and I think they were number 1 all season, and they should have been. Washington, which I didn't give a lot of respect to at all, but now they're there because earlier this season, what were there 9 Pac-12 teams were in the top 25 at one point? That deserves some credence.
They started out strong.
And so it looks Washington battled through that, were undefeated, and now here they are, and deservedly so, beating Oregon the way they did twice this season in Seattle, and even more dominant in Las Vegas.
Right. So yeah, I'm going for the Huskies in this 4-team race.
You know what? He threw me off. He said Huskies. Oh, wait a minute.
Huskies.
Huskies, not Huskers.
You can ask me what I've been smoking.
Yeah, I'm about to say, wait a minute.
Clear your ear, bro. Clear your ears.
I'm talking about SEC shields. I got a Husker shield, but it's Huskies. Yeah. But, I'm still going with Michigan because I believe they're just the better team. And it goes by.
Oh, I'm just saying who I'm rooting for.
Oh, and I'm not an Alabama hater. Anyone who knows me knows I don't hate Alabama unless I'm in Alabama. Then I'm an Auburn fan just to get on people's nerves. But looking at Michigan and what they've done all year, they've won 6 games without Harbaugh. The first 3 early on, the last 3, and then they get into the Big Ten championship game. It was just an embarrassment because Iowa can't do anything offensively. But it all came down to the offensive line for me when it came down to Michigan. The grad transfers in particular, when Drake Nugent came in from Stanford and Ladarius Henderson came in from Arizona State, I think those were the linchpins on the offensive line. 2 players who were captains on their team added more leadership to this offense. I think that's another reason why they could win without Jim Harbaugh having to babysit when he's gone.
Yeah, that's true. You got a strong offensive line that can move people around. You're at a big advantage.
Yeah, and the locker room, those kinds of guys who were captains where they were previous, they're now on a team that has a lot of veteran leadership too. They know how it works, the dynamic of being a leader and what kind of helps the group and what takes away from a group, and they made it happen. And that's why Michigan, in my opinion, is there, even under these circumstances of Harbaugh is here, then Harbaugh is not there. These guys are leaders themselves. They know how to lead themselves, at least temporarily, until the ship was righted. And then they picked up where they left off, beating up on Iowa.
Yeah, that was an impressive performance. I mean, they did what they're supposed to do.
Exactly.
We all knew Iowa was offensively challenged. And if they would have scored 17 or 20 points, that would have been a big disappointment. They didn't come close.
Not even close. And by the way, take the under and you still win. Come on now. That's been the story with Iowa all year long. But, man, if only they had, Kirk Ferentz fired his own son as offensive coordinator. That's how bad this is. I mean, it's going to hopefully get better eventually, but that's not the story that's on the line. This Michigan team being number 1 overall and Alabama still getting in, it still just blows my mind how Alabama's in there. Because, look, earlier this season, Ohio State was number 3. Penn State was number 7. Penn State gets beat by Ohio State, so they were a road team. They lost, I believe, by 8 points, maybe less. But, they lost single digits, and they fell to number 10. Never were able to really get back to where they were in contention or had opportunities. And then they got beat again by Michigan, another top team. So the only 2 losses they have are Ohio State and Michigan, 2 of the best teams in the Big Ten, along now the 3rd team being Penn State. Alabama loses to Texas. They really can't get their sea legs until they play a Georgia team that probably shouldn't have been number 1 to begin with. And at some point in the season, just a few weeks ago, they weren't number 1 until they regained number 1. But Alabama beats them and jumps Texas. I mean, they jumped. They didn't jump Texas. Everybody had to move in order to be convenient. Everybody. Right. So Alabama goes from 8 to 4 out of convenience. And because Texas is in front of them, that's the way you have them at number 3. So they're covering their own butts putting this together, throwing Florida State out of it, knowing there wasn't going to be much backlash because there just aren't enough Florida State voices out there to make this happen. The ACC doesn't have that power. The SEC does.
Yeah, and then you got Coach Prime coming out saying they're not one of the top 4 teams in the country. But that's just hate right there because most people know he wanted the Florida State job.
Yeah.
So losing a little respect for Prime right there. Just don't say nothing, man.
Well, I think his players are losing some respect too. In fact, another one of his highly touted 4-star players decided to leave. I forgot which one of his coaches had just left, and this was the main recruiter for this particular player, and he's leaving. A 4-star player decided he canceled his visit to Colorado. So when people thinking that Coach Prime is the face of the program, which he is, it still takes those inner workings of recruiters to bring in these players as well. Maybe it's like Bobby Bowden when the recruiters went out there and did their thing. Bobby Bowden sealed the deal when he came to the house. They buttered them up. Bobby closed the deal. I've seen it. How Bobby Bowden did it. And so, and I thought that Coach Prime would be in the same position of when the recruiters do what they do, and then he comes in and closes the door. But then I think some people thought he did the recruiting and closing the door. No, he needs his recruiters. Now they're going and players are saying, yo, this is the guy who recruited me. I'm going with him, or I'm going not coming here because he's not here, not because Coach Prime is there. Things aren't looking good for Coach Prime over the past couple of weeks with players not going to Boulder or coming to Boulder. Christian Fourier's son, the former legendary tight end of Colorado, his son is leaving.
I remember him. You know, it might have been to their detriment to start out so hot. You know, expectations grew and grew and grew. Where maybe if they lose one of those first 2 or 3 games, you know, they're 2-1 instead of 3-0 or 0-1 and they're 1-1 and 2-1. They started out so hot. Expectations grew and grew. You know, people were saying, oh, what he's doing is special. You got Michael Irvin, Michael Sapp, celebrities, you know, showing up. And then they started losing. And then they lost some more. And they lost some more.
And they kept on losing.
You get to the end of the season and there's no bowl game. Now what? The hype is gone.
Well, the hype is gone, but you could also say they still have 3 more wins than they had last season. They quadrupled their win total from the previous
That's
season.
what I'm saying. If they didn't start out so hot, he could say, well, hey, we improved on last season. But he can't really say that when he started out as hot as they did.
And that's true. You can see how they flattened out. And, of course, they lost another player, their offensive lineman. I can't remember these guys' names anymore. It seems like all this noise going on this past weekend made me forget even about Coach Prime's players. But they lost one of their top offensive linemen. I don't know if you could say top when the offensive line was so bad to begin with. He just going to the portal. He may end up back in Colorado anyway. Who the hell wants him? You know, the way things went with that offensive line this past season. But Coach Prime, man, he has a whole set of problems of his own that he needs to rectify. And he's now getting a chance to see how it is to recruit against the real big boys.
I think where he erred is not pumping the brakes. He went with it. You know, he was driving that bus. He was leading the charge. Yo, we're different. We're different.
Believe.
He should have pumped the brakes, say, yo, this is a process. This is only my first season here. We have steps to take. Yes, we're improved. Yes, we're going to get better. But don't think, you know, we're not at the top yet. Give me a couple years. But that's not what he said.
Well, the old Coach Prime is back. I mean, not even Coach Prime, but primetime Deion Sanders. That's what it ended up being. He came off trying to be humble at the same time, still being a little bit brash, and some people can call it arrogance. But then ultimately he went back to who he probably really is, saying things that he probably would have said years ago and rubbing people the wrong way by saying it. Obviously, the players don't see it. They believed in the beginning. They don't believe now. They're leaving in droves from the team, and now recruits with signing day right around the corner, the early signing period in December, that's becoming more of an issue now, depending on who the hell he signs. And then, of course, he still has the first Wednesday of February to really put the class together, but it doesn't look good right now. I mean, for his class, I assume it will get better, but is it going to get better in the way he needs it to live up to that expectation? And by the way, they made another splash last week that we didn't really speak about. Warren Sapp is going to be the defensive lines coach next season. He finally got his degree. Now he's eligible to coach on the collegiate level, and he signed up with Prime. So now at least we know in terms of just having a presence out there, somebody who knows how to play that D line. Now those people that he recruit have to become the dogs like Warren Sapp once was.
Right. You would think that would benefit them when recruiting D linemen.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want to go play for a Hall of Famer?
Absolutely. 2 of them.
Well, yeah, but
the defensive line.
As far as defensive linemen, yeah. Who wouldn't want Warren Sapp as their coach? That should bode well, but it's kind of late in the game unless he gets a lot of people to flip or hits the transfer portal again.
Well, you know what? With Warren Sapp and even Deion, they're both from the state of Florida. And I can see Warren Sapp coming here to the state of Florida with some defensive linemen. A lot of these parents have watched him play. So I think they'll be on his side if their kid was interested in it or he called them up, they'd listen. You know what I mean? Because here in the state of Florida, man, he's respected playing for the U. I think a lot of these legendary Florida players from college that ended up going to the pros, you know, the parents remember the way they played. So if they called you up, they'll get more respect than someone from outside the state that did the same thing. I mean, if Derek Brooks had done the same thing as a recruiter for Florida State, if he calls you up, you're listening to Derek Brooks and see what he has to say. I'm thinking if you're in the state of Florida, linebacker or even a defensive lineman.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't know how many kids would be willing to leave Florida for Colorado though, but
And that's true. That's another
you'll
thing.
they'll listen.
Woo. You know what though? The amount of players that come from Florida and go to Ohio State kind of shows that they are willing to go to the colder climate. Because I know that St. Thomas Aquinas pretty much has a pipeline to Ohio State. The Boza brothers both went to St. Thomas Aquinas. They're up there in Ohio State. And we've seen those kinds of players. I mean, even Chris Carter, his son went up to Ohio State, probably as a legacy player when he came from St. Thomas Aquinas. He didn't get his opportunities in the NFL. He was a decent player, but it just showed the pipeline that's from Ohio State to St. Thomas Aquinas and back and forth. But yeah, these Florida players going to these cold weather teams, man, pretty interesting, but they're littered throughout the country. You go to Syracuse, you see those players on the 1AA, I guess, FCS level. Years ago, I remember Fordham University built their entire recruiting class on top Florida players. That's how they even got to the playoffs. But yeah, man, Warren Sapp is a huge name to have right now, and defensive lineman. I think they'll listen to what he has to say. And can you still get out of those players what Warren Sapp did himself? I mean, you can't expect it, but you need dogs out there.
Yeah, my only concern would be, has he coached anywhere before?
No,
great players don't always turn into great coaches.
Yep. You know what?
Especially if they have the mentality, well, this is how I did it. Yeah. You're a Hall of Famer, man. Not everybody's going to be able to do it how you did it.
That's true. But I'm thinking to that, and for him at least, the benefit is he's a position coach. So he's a position coach and not the head coach. So he can at least get his hands dirty. You have Jason Taylor, who's down in Miami right now, defensive line coach as well. Hall of Famer, played with the Dolphins, came from Akron, and he's doing well with that. In fact, his son is transferring from, I think, Arizona State or Arizona. So he'll be probably coming to the U as well. But you can see these Hall of Fame coaches in positions where they're position coaches, not head coaches, and getting their hands dirty, learning how to do it on the ground floor so that when they do become head coaches, it'll be better. But yeah, as far as the near future with Warren Sapp, I think that initial him just really getting back into football, I think that's going to be able to exude itself, and players are going to jump on that enthusiasm. But they still have to have talent. You can be a scrub with enthusiasm, and you won't be playing well.
So let's get to the NFL.
Whew. Well, we've already talked about what happened last night or yesterday. And the 49ers, I wasn't expecting a blowout like that. But as you said, man, the Eagles didn't have anything for them. They couldn't stop them.
Yeah, they definitely sent a message. And they were talking all week, came in. I don't know if you saw the little clip. They busted up their DB drills on the sideline, walked right through them. They were just disrespecting them left and right. And then if you watch the game, you saw there were a bunch of scuffles. And that dumbass on the sideline, he had no business putting his hands on a player. If the NFL does not ban him from the sideline, something's wrong.
Yep.
I don't care who he is in Philadelphia, what kind of relationship he has to the team. If he's the head of security, I don't give a damn who he is.
Yep.
You don't put your hands on the player.
Or any player, your own player or another player.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm the player, especially the opposing team's player. Who is he to be playing police? Get out of man, get your ass off the sideline. Man, I'm glad he got thrown out, but the NFL has to take action further.
And I haven't heard anything about it either. So I don't know if it's going to happen, because a decision like that can be made so quickly. There isn't any review you have to do. It was on a national game that we've been watching. But the dominance that would happen, man. You get, look what I'm about to say, Brock Purdy. You get Brock Purdy out there throwing 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, looking great again. Not looking good, but looking great, and putting up the numbers that show it, yards-wise, touchdowns-wise. And the reason why, because his players are healthy. I hated when he was going through his little thing when everybody was hurt. I mean, Deebo Samuel was hurt. Christian McCaffrey was banged up and not playing effectively. George Kittle was the only guy you had that was doing something offensively. Now that they're back, he's doing a lot of what he did last year. In fact, even better, because he's supposed to with that kind of progression.
Yeah, he should be improving. He's still a young quarterback. The funny thing is he's the odds-on favorite to win the MVP now based off of last night's game.
And I can live with that. No problem. Yeah.
So can I. But they got Dak number 2. Like, are we just going to forget his past poor performances because he's been beaten up on questionable competition, let's say.
Because they got blown out by the 49ers too. Let's not forget that part.
Right.
We've been watching that whole
he was bad in that game. So we're just going to put that aside because he's had a good 4-week stretch.
Well, and by the way, tonight, the Cincinnati Bengals are here in Jacksonville. The streets are already packed, and I'm surprised you can't hear a little bit of the noise because there was some noise out here. I live literally right across the bridge from the freaking stadium, so you got tailgaters and all that stuff going on right now. The city is hyped up for this game.
You need to get out there, man.
They were expecting Joe Burrow. I'm a Jets fan. You know what? I go to
that's true.
Jaguar games on occasion. Matter of fact, the last Jazz game I went to was against the Jets. Come on now. That's how I get down. But, I don't have any problem with the Jags. And I think it came from when I started covering the Jazz. I thought, man, how the hell am I going to cover this team? They're just not my team. But then after a while, you realize, man, you become more of a fan of players than the actual team. And I don't mind the Jaguars. And it's not bad for the city to have something like this going on. It's not every day that Jacksonville is in the news or doing something that the rest of the country could watch and doing it successfully. This time tonight, without Joe Burrow, there's something expected for the Jaguars. They should win this game. Now, I've been reading
better. I mean, based off of last week, the issues they caused for C.J. Stroud.
Woo, yeah.
Got Joe Statue Flacco in the backfield tonight.
Oh my God. Mount Flacco.
They should get at least 4 to 5 sacks, if not more, man.
Yeah, and he's old.
He couldn't get it out of the pocket when he was young. Now he's been inactive for a while. Come on, man. They better call some 2 or 3 step drops, and he's got to release the ball.
Yeah, I remember him with the Jets, and I thought he would be a step at least in some direction instead of no direction, and we got no direction. And then we still had Zach Wilson, so whatever. But yeah, Joe Flacco, man, he's quarterbacking tonight, and that Jaguars pass rush led by Josh Allen. Man, they're gonna be wearing Josh Allen like a cheap suit tonight. I'm thinking so they won't be able to keep him off. And this whole Cincinnati team seems like it lost the beat because of Joe Burrow going down. I think they realized that the season's pretty much over, and they're looking forward to being on the clock in April. And that's what they're doing. They know they don't have a chance in the playoffs right now, or in their division for that matter. Even with the Steelers losing Kenny Pickett for 2 to 4 weeks with that ankle surgery that he's having for the injured ankle. Well, I think Mitch Trubisky could get salvage some wins.
Man, I don't know where I'm tripping on. Flacco plays for the Browns.
Flacco?
Yeah.
I thought Joe Flacco. Oh, shoot. You know what? You're right. I thought Joe Flacco was going to back up freaking Joe Burrow tonight. But yeah, well, I guess
he plays for the Browns. I started thinking about it. I said, hold up. You know them Cleveland teams.
Yeah.
Why both of them gotta have orange?
Oh man, come on. They want to be serious.
I mean, Ohio teams. Damn, I'm messing up. Ohio teams is what I meant.
Oh.
Cincinnati, Cleveland, they both have orange.
Cincinnati, Cleveland, orange. I guess they in honor of Jim Brown playing for the Orange Men. Whatever, some roundabout way it comes back to orange.
I
but
guess.
In the event,
how about that moron for? I can't even remember the name of the outlet he writes for, who was going in on that kid, the Chiefs fan.
Oh, bro, that became a national story, and then it blew up in his face.
Right.
I'm
glad he better post a retraction and apology at least.
Everybody's coming with their sensitive nonsense, always trying to throw their politics or social justice nonsense in the way of something completely innocuous that's not called for.
And what's funny is his name is Karen Figures.
Yeah, right. Yapper.
What the hell is wrong with people going in? I don't even know how old the kid is, man. But he's got to be under 10 years old, huh?
Yeah, man, that kid's not even worried about the nonsense people are talking about in society these days. He's trying to enjoy a freaking football game. That's it.
I know, but I saw he was on Fox News. He said it was scary for a little bit, but a lot of his friends were like, "You didn't do anything wrong. You look cool. You look cool on TV." So. But I mean, for him to even have to deal with that.
Yep. That's where we are now.
That's ridiculous, man. That is so fucking ridiculous.
That's where we are now in the society, man.
When something happens, speak on it. But don't create something. Don't fabricate some bullshit, especially about a little kid.
Yep. And they have no boundaries. They don't have any boundaries anymore. I mean, it's not like they really had boundaries years ago, but there isn't any journalistic integrity these days. They're just people just writing something to get that knee-jerk reaction, get the clicks, get the eyeballs, and that's it. And they don't care who gets in the way and who's in the carnage in the path. They just want to get that story out there and be looked at one way or another because of it. It's nonsense, and it was
but to share his picture also.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to write the article, but then to put him on blast with his photo, that's fucked up. That's fucked up.
Yep.
And it's not like the kid even did anything wrong.
And that's where we are now. And by the way, before we get off the NFL, hey, you know what? This Jordan freaking Love, I mentioned it last week because I hadn't seen him in a long time. Matter of fact, I don't think I've seen him since that Chicago game.
His mojo.
This guy's he's freaking improved, man. I mean, he's showing real improvement. It's getting me even more pissed off at Zach Wilson in his third season. Come on, man. This guy here, his first year starting, he went from looking
ever
like
since I told the Packer fans to shut up and take your L's. He's been balling.
Yeah, this dude. Yo, I'm looking at the throws he's making, man. He's reading. He's not panicking anymore. He's throwing darts. I'm like, wow. And look how he started the game. I mean, he was like 10 for 10, 11 for 11, somewhere around there. He was just picking it apart. I'm like, damn. They may just have something. I'm not going to get carried away and say they have already the next Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre. But damn, they don't have a Domikowski. They have somebody that looks like he's going to be pretty damn solid in the NFL if he continues the growth that he has. And going by that Green Bay organization, I don't see any reason why not. They've always been pretty good picking up plays and surrounding the talent with the plays they need to be competitive and move forward with that.
I don't know if Aaron Rodgers would agree with that.
Aaron Rodgers doesn't agree with much of anything these days.
I'm just saying. Now, he wanted more weapons. They never got it for him.
Well, now he got all the weapons he needed in New York, and he didn't live up to his part of the deal. He just goes lay down under the job and stay out for 77 days or more now. And of course, I think he was just talking about coming back this season. He knew the Jets weren't going to have any opportunities. Another freaking loss. This one at home to the Atlanta Falcons. It was a baseball game in the beginning. The Jets started off the scoring with a 2-0 lead because of a safety. Unbelievable. At one point, the game was like 5-7. I thought we were still watching the World Series. Come on, man. Anyway. Yeah, but how about the Dolphins, man? I mean, another team they're playing that's under 500. They get the win and do what they're usually doing. But, hey, it doesn't take away from them continuing to lead the AFC East.
I don't expect anything different. They should beat up on below average teams, but when they come up against a better team, they're going to have to show and prove it because I don't have any faith in them. They're 0-2, 0-3 against winning teams this year.
Mm-hmm. They were showing that clip yesterday.
And not just they get shut. It's not like they lose. Not like they lose 27-24 or 31-28. They get beat.
They get beat down. But A-Chain came back yesterday and made a couple of big runs and looked a little bit like his old self, not exactly averaging in double digits per rush like he did before he got injured, but at least showing some life. I thought he was coming back a little too early, like last week, and got banged up a little bit and had to sit out. This week, he got a few more runs and looked pretty sharp when he was getting it done. But now, you know what? I thought about this game, and I look at it now, and going into this season, I looked at Eric Bieniemy. We talked about how he was looking for a head coaching opportunity, and it was obviously going to be contingent on what he does here offensively, because with Andy Reid in Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes, it's easy to look good, apparently. Now he goes to Washington. Sam Howell's numbers in his second year aren't looking that bad. He's putting up a whole bunch of numbers. Is this enough to get Eric Bieniemy a job as a head coach based on what he's doing here offensively, even with a team that's continuing to lose?
That's going to be the question in the offseason. He's already interviewed for a couple of jobs, so he's in consideration. I don't think anything has happened where his name should be scratched off of lists. You know what I'm saying? If you're in need of a coach, I think he'll still get opportunities. At least the interview.
Because a lot of times these hot offensive coordinators are coming from teams that have done things offensively. We don't know too much about Eric Bieniemy until he's over in Kansas City doing what he does offensively. But Andy Reid is overseeing an offensive genius, and then Mahomes an offensive talent being as good as he is. So we're hearing about Eric Bieniemy because of that. We're wondering chicken or the egg. And now he moves on because they don't renew him. It's kind of like, we could do better without you. Well, they actually aren't. I mean, guys aren't catching the ball, but they are doing better without Eric Bieniemy. Sam Howell, even in losses, is looking pretty damn good with the numbers. I mean, he has a bad team around him, and he's had some pretty doggone good games this season, even in losing efforts as an individual. And Eric Bieniemy needs some of the credit for that, I believe.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the Chiefs struggling offensively, that's another feather in his cap. So when he goes to interview, you can say, well, not only did I do such and such with this group, but look at my old group. They definitely did not show any improvement. They showed they declined.
Yep, and they're missing him. And I'm just looking at this as we continue to move on. The season's now going to be coming to the end as down the stretch they come. But Eric Bieniemy, I mean, I think that even from a team that it looks like it's going to turn out, Washington's kind of throwing the towel, but I don't think that hurts Eric Bieniemy's chances of getting a head coaching job. No matter what happens in Washington, maybe he's the new coach in Washington when they get rid of Robert Rivera. I don't know. They got rid of Jack Del Rio on the defensive side.
I don't know. Remember early in the season, the players were going to coach asking
him. They were whining. Yeah, they were whining about him. But maybe they've kind of settled on him. And, they're making plays now. Sam Howell once again making plays. Curtis Samuel making plays. Yet on Sunday, making some good plays, making some decent catches. And he's been doing it throughout the season. But, yeah, Eric Bieniemy, I think he deserved the job. Going back to Jack Del Rio, I don't like that they had gotten rid of Jack Del Rio. They take away his biggest defensive weapons, and
that's what I said.
And you said that last week. You said that last week, and on top of that, look what happened to him in Oakland. When he was in Oakland, then Las Vegas, he shouldn't have been kicked out of there. He should have lost his job in Oakland. The only reason why is because John Gruden became available, and the Davises had such a damn love fest for him. Jack Del Rio had gotten screwed. Jack Del Rio is a hell of a defensive coordinator. Not only because he played, coached here in Jacksonville, but the reason why he coached here in Jacksonville is because of what he had done with the Carolina Panthers the year they went to the Super Bowl.
Right. He's a heck of a coach. He did not deserve to get fired in Washington, but maybe it'll be to his benefit in the offseason. We'll have to wait and see, obviously. But, when he goes to interview, he can be like, look, how do they expect me to succeed when they traded my 2 starting defensive ends?
That's exactly what it is.
You take any team in the NFL, you take away their 2 starting defensive ends, they're going to struggle defensively, especially if it's the 49ers, if it's the Cowboys, if it's the Eagles.
Yep.
Come on now.
Yeah, go down the list, man. But, yeah, we got so much to continue to talk about in terms of football, even for tomorrow because of the Monday night game between the Jaguars and Cincinnati coming to town. I know everybody here wanted Joe Burrow to come, but I think looking outside and seeing almost all day and the vibe on the radio and the television, everybody just wanting Jacksonville to finally get back on Monday Night Football, regardless of if Joe Burrow's here or not. To them, it's all about the Jaguars. Forget everybody else. And I can believe that. I can understand that. Being here long enough to see the ups and downs of the Jags, man, it's always a better time when this team is doing so well. Right. I call it a very huge, small city. It's a huge, small city, man. The cats still get saved from freaking firemen up in the tree. That's the kind of place Jacksonville is for the most part. But, yeah, to see this happening right now, it's a big day for a Monday Night Football game. So anything else want to bring up? Any NBA we should be talking about right now?
Yeah, the Bucks losing to the Bulls. Did we talk about that last week?
No, we didn't. I would have remembered that one.
It probably happened. It probably happened on Wednesday after the show. DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine didn't play, and they lost to the sorry-ass Chicago Bulls in overtime.
Bro.
Caruso hit a buzzer-beater 3 to tie it, to send it into OT, and then the Bulls just dominated. I think they won by 7 or 8.
God.
I don't know. They got to work it out. Something's going on over there. Why they're not running pick and roll with Damian and Giannis. We've talked about it on this show. I see them talking about it on NBA shows. They only ran 11 pick and rolls, I think it was, in their last game. The vibe in Milwaukee doesn't seem too positive right now. You got guys not running back on defense. I don't know. They're gonna have to get it worked out.
And maybe someone throws a monkey wrench in there by saying, well, you see, Dame really wanted to go to Miami to begin with. That's nice and right for that to come back up now. And look at the Magic playing as well as they're playing this year. They had their 9-game winning streak snapped, but the fact that they had a 9-game winning streak, which tied the franchise record, man, I wasn't expecting them to be this good this fast. I knew they would be improved this year, and I was glad they would be improved. But the way and they're beating big teams while they're doing it. I mean, they're beating Denver. They're playing teams like Boston. They're winning games against. It wasn't just beating bottom feeders. And this team is something you have to worry about. Now, all they have to worry about is the injuries that are bound to happen in the NBA season, or maybe not because of the rest management this year. But man, shocked to see them this successful this soon.
Did you see LeBron and Udoka?
No, I hadn't.
Well, I guess LeBron was whining, and Ime Udoka told him, "Stop your bitching" or something. LeBron walked up to him, and then Udoka, I don't know the exact exchange, but something like, "Why are you walking up on me?" or something. LeBron was taking issue with being called a bitch. But he didn't call him a bitch. He told him stop bitching or stop acting like a bitch or something like that.
Hey, you came too close to home for it, man. You know what? Can't say certain things to a man, bro. I mean, seriously, you say certain things to a man, they take it one way or another. They're gonna step to it. And
yeah, but stop bitching. I mean, would stop whining. Is that better? Stop crying.
Well, you know how they're gonna say they're gonna try to get under your skin without trying to get completely under your skin.
But then Udoka, he already had a technical, so he got another technical, and he was thrown out the game.
Man, so LeBron
has gotten fans kicked out, and now he's gotten a coach kicked out. And people don't want to say he's soft. You gonna try and square up with a coach? Come on, man.
Bro, come on. Once again, let's remind these people it's basketball, man.
Billy Martin and Reggie Jackson.
Yo, they got at it, man. They got at it for real.
That's because Billy Martin's a crazy motherfucker.
He's crazy, exactly, man. But that damn Reggie Jackson was nothing to mess with, man. Not only was he a great baseball player, he was just an overall great athlete, man.
Bro, you little shit. I ain't gonna take that shit from you. Come here. But we talked about the Warriors. I said in the summertime they're done. Back-to-back games, they've blown 20-point plus leads and lost. Don't leave me there. Get on the phone, man. I'm telling you, people are saying they foul too much because they can't defend. You foul when you can't defend, when you can't move your feet. They turn the ball over. Same old stuff that have been their Achilles heel the last couple of seasons. But you know what would fix that? Big man you can pick and roll with to either get an open look or to throw an alley-oop to for an easy bucket. They don't get too many easy buckets.
That's Bol, man. That guy, he has a nice little touch on his shot. I think he would have been a good guy to put out there. He's a little thin, but he gotten big over the past few years he's been in the league, because I remember that he was supposed to have been a first rounder, but he dropped because they found some pre-draft thing out. I guess for some, I don't know if it was autoimmune or whatever it was. It was something that was going on to where he lost a lot of weight. And so they were concerned, rightfully so. But anyway, he came at a bargain basement price as a second rounder. And I think for the opportunities he's had, he's done okay. I think, went to Denver, down in Orlando. Now, where is he now? But yeah, I think that he would have been
if he was in Golden State, he wouldn't be asked to do much other than rebound, set picks, block a shot or two, and catch an alley-oop here and there. Hey, if he gets 6 points and 7 rebounds, hey, you did your job. If he has a crazy game, 12 points and 10, wow, that was a great game for you.
Yeah, he'll give a few of those. Better than
they got Dario Saric and Kevon Looney. Come on, man. Those guys don't put fear in anybody.
Nah, but they'll put fear inside their own team when they realize they may have to get a play-in game or not even that much if they continue playing the way they're playing. When you talk about how much balance there is on the West anyway.
Oh, we got the Pelicans and Kings tonight, I believe. That should be a good one.
Oh, really? Pelicans and Kings. Yeah, now the Pelicans are obviously, I expected them to be better this year, but I also said that with Sacramento, they wouldn't be able to sneak up on anybody. They had that little rough patch, but now they're kind of playing better now.
Yeah, and I believe CJ McCollum's back. So that should have helped the Pelicans cause. Otherwise, I'd pick the Kings, but he may not be in game shape. We'll see. But still, the Pelicans, when Zion plays, they win. So we'll see.
I'm gonna watch that to play. Just hope he can continue to play. But hey, so far so good, man. His His love has not given birth yet, from what I know. I don't know. Maybe she did.
Oh yeah, Ryan Garcia.
Ryan Garcia, man. A disappointing fight against Duarte because I was expecting this to be a showcase fight to where he could show his skills and pick up from what he did in his last fight against Tank, kind of get rid of that bad taste, show him throwing his hands, looking fluid, and getting the knockout with probably a one-shot knockout. Did not happen. Dude, as you said, was running around in the ring. A Mexican on his bicycle.
He was on his bicycle for a couple of rounds. It's a good thing he hurt him and stopped him.
Yeah. And it probably wasn't. It should have been stopped, but I think I understand why it was stopped because there just wasn't too much.
He was between 9 and 10 when he got up, and the rest, it's the rest discretion. He should have got up at 8, and then there wouldn't have been no.
But you know, every guy tries to get that every last second. They teach you that in the gym. Try to get that 9 and try to get up, but you're playing with it. You're rolling the dice. But yeah, he overwhelmed him a bit towards the end. And the ref did the right job by stopping it because there wasn't much that he can do. He was so limited offensively, didn't have much head movement. He took a lot of shots.
Yeah,
but Ryan Garcia did not impress in this fight.
He had no jab. He had no idea how to
slow ass jab.
Yeah, had no idea how to cut off the ring. Yeah, he was still landing some shots.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And then overhand right hands, like, why are you getting caught with that? Don't you see that coming?
And now Ryan Garcia calling out Shakur Stevenson. Bruh, take that fight, boy.
Please fight Shakur Stevenson. Please. I would love to see him shut you out 120, 108. I would love to see that.
Shakur has his own taste to get out of his mouth in that last performance.
He does.
I think he's that dog that's going to try to get. He's not one of those guys that's just going to be a professional. He's coming in there to get people to forget about what happened last fight if this one is next.
But for Ryan Garcia to talk shit about Shakur Stevenson
and then put up a shit show like that.
Well, not only that, coming off a KO loss where he got dropped once, and then stopped. He got dropped twice.
Tried to get up when he realized the fight was over. Let me get up now.
Well, he was looking all amateurish, throwing crazy punches at Gervonta. Gervonta was just covering up.
I believe it's what a hammer punch. I don't know. Whatever the hell.
Right. I was like, if you think back to the fight, I was thinking, what the hell are you doing, man? He was just throwing crazy punches. He wasn't throwing a left hook to the body, right hand to the head, then a left. No, he was just like a girl fight, just throwing punches.
Panicking. He was panicking.
And then he got caught.
Yeah, caught.
That's what you get.
That's what happened when you deal with a vet.
And that dude has the nerve to talk shit about Shakur Stevenson. Fuck.
You know how the fight game go with these young guys, especially. But man, we do have a fight coming up this Saturday with Regis Prograis and Devin Haney. I've been watching those guys a little bit and their little build up to it. I'm thinking that Haney not going to have an easy time. I don't think anything's easy as long as there's a guy who could kind of put you on Quiz Street with a shot, even if he doesn't have a whole bunch of skills. But I'm expecting Haney to really show his mastery of the game.
Yeah, so Haney likes to take the air out of the ball, right?
Yeah.
He runs a four corners offense. It's up to Prograis to speed him up. He's got to make it a dogfight. I don't know if he can do that.
He claims he's going to do it.
He's going to have to get past the jab and get inside. If he can't get inside consistently, it's going to be a long night for him.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? He get caught with a few sharp shots. And I think that Devin Haney, moving up as he has, he's still thinking that 140 is still not his spot. He still thinks he believes that he needs to be at 147. If he does have more power there at 140, he can land that sharp shot. Even without power, that sharp shot is the reason why you can get knocked on the Queer Street in boxing. We've seen guys who don't punch hard at all still knock guys out. I mean, I've seen, you look at somebody like Pernell Whitaker get knockouts. I remember he fought Juan Nazario in the first round, knocked him out. I'm like, what the hell? You wouldn't have expected. But yeah, guys who allegedly can't punch, knocking guys out with one shot, just put the sharp punch there.
Yeah, or that one fight against the Cuban. His name is
Diabetes Hurtado.
Nah, I thought his name was like Theobelis or something.
Yeah, Diabetes Hurtado, the Cuban.
Hurtado?
Knocked out in the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that surprised the hell out of me. He was
not sure that kind of dog that Pete had.
Yeah, he was getting his ass whooped. And all of a sudden, he
fight. Man, it went from damn, he might lose his fight to damn, that's a bad stoppage, ref. You should have done it earlier. The ref is getting fired. Oh, man, he almost had a ring death up in there with Pernell Whitaker on the other end. But anyway, we have more to talk about tomorrow, man. We've kind of given our spiel specifically starting off with college football today. and the mess that was yesterday.
So let me ask you a quick question, though.
Yeah,
My friend suggested that Florida State should decline the invitation.
too much money.
Protest.
Too much money. Too much money. It's going to come down to the money. Way too much money. It would be a nice look. You know what? If you really stood on what you were doing, the money shouldn't be the issue. The issue should be the issue. But we know the money is just too damn big. You know, they might need to add another level to the library. So, hey, why not get that bowl money to do it? So,
what if players start saying they're not going to play, though?
You know what? That's why I was suggesting for Miami going to the damn Pinstripe Bowl against fucking Rutgers. Come on, man. Don't go. It's like Miami ends up in the Pinstripe Bowl every freaking year to get a bowl game because we always freaking.
At least your team's going to a bowl.
The Pinstripe Bowl, bro. When you got to still look at the baseball.
I don't care. That's more practice time. Another game, more experience for the young players.
Yeah, we need players coming in anyway because obviously there are players who aren't going to be there because they're waiting for their NFL opportunity. By the way, Caleb Williams is not playing for USC in the Holiday Bowl. He's going to sit out as well because he's going to go into the NFL draft more than likely. He hasn't announced that I know of yet, but when you're not going into the bowl game, it's not just to stay healthy for the next college season. You know, but I don't think he has the same leverage that he had in the beginning of the season or the leverage he thought he had when he was talking about who he was going to pick and choose to play for in the NFL. Right. You're a pretty decent quarterback now. You're not the freaking generational quarterback you might have thought you were going into the season. So deal with it.
Yeah. I wouldn't draft him if I was number one. If I had number one. I've said it before. I think he's a diva.
So when isn't Chicago going to get that pick? Because they got it from Carolina?
If the Panthers keep losing.
Yeah. I don't think anything's changing there. They got that one win in the clubhouse right now, man. I mean, Arizona's there.
If they luck up and win two, then it'll be between them and Arizona, yeah.
You know, Arizona just beat the Steelers, so they got themselves another win.
Oh, that's true.
So, hey, so your boys might get a chance. And
the door's open. The door's open.
Yeah, and then with Justin
I told you what I would do. I would draft Marvin Harrison number one, trade down and take Jaden Daniels.
That would be a hell of a damn pickup, man. But you have to look at your quarterback situation and see which guy's going to be the guy to make him the player. You still have DJ Moore. That'll be a hell of a damn receiving core right there.
Right.
So, yeah, so now you got to pick the quarterback that's going to get it. Is it going to be Bagent or is it going to still be Justin Fields? Or are they still waiting around for him?
It's going to be Jaden Daniels if I was the GM.
You know what? Yeah, Jaden Daniels. I forgot. I think now the team saw a little bit of what, it's a copycat league. After they saw what CJ Stroud has done so far this year, and his game is a little bit like Jaden. Jaden's a little bit more explosive. Damn. Imagine Jaden doing even half of what he's doing in college, in the pros, in his early going like CJ Stroud is. Whoo, boy, that'd be a pain in the ass for anybody to deal with.
Right.
Anyways.
We'll
get back to it tomorrow anyways, man, after this weekend that I'm still shaking my head about, man. And it's still I
think I got it out of my system early. I'm glad you brought it up early. I was able to get it out. I think I got it out.
It was cathartic for now. So anyway, that therapeutic air is in the air. So yeah, the Jaguars coming up tonight against the Cincinnati Bengals. Monday Night Football here in Jacksonville. He's biased. I'm Trav. The Sports Bag Bros are signing off on this Monday. Deuces.
Peace.